hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the Business Brunch. We are here to cheerlead you into the week, as always, and we're your working from home team, and we're all here to connect, to learn, and to evolve. So first of all, let's connect. Please say hello in the comments. Let everyone know you're here. Tell us where you're from, and tell us if you want to connect with each other. Say you're open to connect as well, because that's what it's all about. And we've actually made some quite deep connections by doing this show for the past, well, we there 5 or 6 months, I don't know. So do connect. The second aim is to learn, and with every show, we aim to impart some knowledge, either via ourselves, via our guests, so that you go away knowing something more than you did when the show started, something that will help you in your professional and personal lives. And then that growth then is that learning then allows us to grow and evolve and to become better leaders. So that's what the show is all about. This is why we're here. I'll let my fellow presenters introduce themselves first of all, but do get busy in the comments and say hello. Melinda, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Hi there. My name is Melinda Ward. I am the Director of Managed Services for Helm 360 and also the founder of the Consultant Mentor. I am here today. We're going to be focusing on consulting skills, which is why I'm mentioning my background a little bit. And this is going to be a big component of Ask Me Anything. So I'm giving you warning now, so you can get your questions into the chat field, as well as saying hi and letting us know where you are and giving us a chance to say hi to you. So warm up your question fingers and be ready to fire up those questions. And also, if there's anybody you think in your contact list that would be interested in this show and interested in this topic, now's a great time to invite them in so they can get connected before we get into the good stuff. I mean, well, the extra good stuff, because it's all good stuff.
Okay. Right. Thanks, Melinda.
You beat yourself up there, Melinda. The rest of it's rubbish.
Yeah, I realized as I was, you ever say something, it's like, as it's coming out of your mouth, you're like, that's totally the wrong thing to
Always.
say. Yeah, I'm good at that. So
welcome to my life.
I it out gracefully, but you called me out on it, didn't you?
Excellent. Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah Farmer. I'm an executive coach and the founder of EMR Consulting. You can find me on LinkedIn. I talk a lot about mindset, imposter syndrome, leadership skills, and business growth. So if you're interested in that stuff, then, and we're not connected, do connect or follow. And my intent is always to share as much help as I possibly can. So, and it's great to meet some new people. But we have some people saying hello. But before we do that, Vanessa, what do you do?
What do I do? I don't know. So I'm a marketer. I do marketing, and next week it's my turn actually up on the big screen, and I'll be talking about marketing yourself. So why is a personal brand, or what is a personal brand, and why is it important? So if you're interested in that, or even if you're not, come along next week and you might learn about that. But please, Sarah, yes, who is in the comments?
Danny's in. He was first in. Hello, Danny.
First, man. He was ready to go.
#1 fan. We love Danny. And he's open to connect and help wherever he can, which is fabulous.
Yeah, gold star for Danny being the first in today on the comments.
Yeah, we have a Mechi who's from Wellingborough, open to connecting. Hi, Mechi, nice to see you. I think you were here last week as well.
He was a very good and busy commenter last week. So
yeah,
welcome back, Danny and Mechi.
For coming back. Michael Rada is calling from... I'm not even going to say that, but it's in the chat. Sorry?
Paisan.
Oh, brilliant. There we go. Open to connect and the founder of Industry 5.0. Oh, so check out Michael Rada. He's got some stuff going on there.
I've been there, by the way, and isn't that where the original pills factory is?
Oh,
I've been there. Yes,
I am educated. Thank you. And we've got Leon from, I hope I'm saying that right, from Dubai. Thank you for joining us again. Nice to see you. And you've also shared your LinkedIn profile as well, so people can, sorry, your LinkedIn link, so people can find you. We have an unknown LinkedIn user. have a late meeting too. Okay, whoever you are, I'm glad you've got time because you're going to love this. And we have, I thought that said Victoria Beckham for a minute. I was going to say, you know what? I'd still rather have Victoria Blakeman. Hi, Victoria. Nice to see you. Who's known as Tori. Happy to connect with everybody. And Danny says, yes, sometimes I open my mouth to swap. Good. That's why you like us, Danny, because we're exactly the same. So if you're out there and haven't said hello yet, then please pop in and say hello. Let us know where you're from, and you can let us know whether you're willing to connect as well. Okay. Good.
Ooh, cool. Right. So while everyone is still saying hello and getting their question fingers warmed up for Melinda, let's talk a little bit about what Melinda is going to be telling us about. And then we'll talk about weekends as well. So Melinda is going to talk about her part 3 of consulting. We will put the links in to the first 2 sessions about consulting. In those sessions, Melinda talked about what 3 different types of consultants there are, and what makes a good consultant. So are you suited to a consultancy life? So there's all that kind of good stuff going on. And today she's going to share with us 3 top skills. Is that right? Yeah. But
exactly.
Also it's an open session as well. So if you've got any questions about consulting, please do put them in the comments. Before that, whilst you're busy doing that, I want to ask the ladies on the screen, how was your weekend? Melinda, who wants to go first? Because Sarah was chomping at the bit there.
Yeah, let's get Sarah in. Yeah.
It wasn't that exciting. Well, it was nice, wasn't it? But what did I do? Well, it was my birthday on Thursday. So it's my celebration started. Yeah. Thank you. So Thursday night, I went out for dinner, amazing curry. Friday night, we didn't do very much. Saturday night, supposed to be a whole family going to see Grease Lightning in London town, but son is ill, daughter is 16. What can I say, Moni? And so instead, we had the lovely Melinda join us, and so we did some movements and singing and stuff, and it was great fun. And then yesterday, because it was so sunny, sat out in the sun and I was doing some work, but it was lovely. It was beautiful down here. Sorry, down south it was lovely. Vanessa's looking confused. Up north, the sun is this yellow thing.
All right.
It warms up the place. You won't have seen it for a while, but down south we see it a little more often. So yeah, it was lovely. Very nice. And very nice to spend the evening with the lovely Melinda as well.
Fabulous. And Melinda, how was your weekend?
Well, there was a spontaneous invitation from some lovely person to come to see Greece in town. So how could I resist such an invitation? So I had a fabulous time with Sarah and her husband. And it's a shame the kids couldn't make it, but I really appreciated the opportunity to be the plan B. So no, that was really cool. And I spent a lot of time with my Ukrainian friends who were staying with me, and got to spend time in the garden, which was nice, especially for the baby to spend more time outside after it had been a bit kind of gray, rainy off and on all through the week. So, yeah, it was kind of busy and fun, and nothing completely out of the ordinary except for, popping into town for a musical, as you do.
And you did that without wearing a tiara, which for you at the weekend is odd.
Yeah.
What about you, Vanessa? What did you do?
So kicked off the weekend with my son. We went and watched the Marvel. We're big fans of Marvel, so we went to watch Doctor Strange at the IMAX, and we did desserts first. We did ice creams, then the cinema, and then went for dinner, which is the right way around. Restaurants have got it all wrong, putting desserts at the end of the menu. Start with the good stuff. So that was a really fun evening, even though he was full of a cold at the time, but we got over that. And then all weekend, I'm kind of rather embarrassed, but my garden, luckily nobody comes down as far as my house in the cul-de-sac. It's kind of a steep hill like this, and my house is right at the bottom, so no one gets down this far. And the garden was a complete state. The grass was knee high. So I've had to go at it with a strimmer. And so that was my whole weekend. Friday, Saturday and Sunday was spent working in the garden. But it looks lovely now. It looks so much nicer.
I bet you your side, I don't know what Adam will tell us what the side muscles are called.
Yes.
From your string, your obliques must be pretty
Obliques,
good.
yeah.
It's got to be good for obliques, isn't it?
Absolutely,
I just want to say
absolutely.
hi to a few people that have come in. So Adam, I did pop him up on screen and said hi. And just say how useful these shows are. Adam came on with his lovely wife, Kerry,
Yep.
to talk to us about making your bodies better. They're the body changes. And although I haven't worked directly with Adam, just after a conversation with him, I've lost quite a few centimetres. So I know there's still more to do, but even just listening to someone giving you some top tips on here can start to make a change. There's more to be done, but it's really powerful. So thank you, Adam and Kerry, for that session. Right, what else are we doing? So Danny says, yes, LinkedIn user doesn't know why we can't see the details. Hopefully this will help. It's Jackie Huston.
Yeah,
that gives
Jackie.
And we have Happy Monday from another LinkedIn user. Let's connect. So let us know what your LinkedIn, what's the word I'm looking for?
Handle.
Thank you. Is so we know who you are. And Michael says, you're right, Vanessa, the original Pilsner beer brewery is 600 meters from his office.
There we go.
Sounds fun. Sounds dangerous. Thank you very much. I'm another year older and another year wiser, I say. Joanna Bell, yes, she hasn't come in as LinkedIn.
Name and photo are working now. Fantastic.
Awesome. So Helena, I'm finding time to be with you, although I don't have it. So you say she's working now?
Not sure.
Oh, no, okay. Maybe, I don't know, but you haven't.
Well, she's always busy.
Busy. Okay, we're glad you're here. Jackie Heston, Global Brand Director. We see in the comments it's just a profile security glitch when your message is put on screen. Thank you. Danny is just, he's like the back office.
I know, it's fabulous.
440. Oh, wow. Okay, Christine, nice to see you. But yeah, great doing a charity event. That's lovely. A very good thing to do at the weekend, but a early start. Okay, well, it's nice to see some people. Shall we hand over to the gorgeous Melinda Ward?
I think so.
Where? No.
This one. That way.
So there we go. So Melinda's going to talk to us about consulting, and please do get active in the comments with any questions you have. Melinda, take it away.
Alrighty then. So just like a super fast recap from the first two sessions. First session, I talked about 3 main types of consulting, which are independent consulting, which is the classic where someone's working for themselves and providing consultancy services to other people. The other one is working for consulting companies directly. So big companies, especially like PwC, Bain, Ernst & Young, there's lots of them. I'm not showing any preference to any of those companies. They're just names that are coming to mind as we go. And the third and maybe more unknown type of consulting is for companies that have a service providing sector or section that helps implement their products for other businesses. So things like software companies who send out people to help implement the software and get it all going. People who have manufacturing companies who send systems out and products out and need people to implement them and bring the clients on board and get them working efficiently and effectively. All 3 types of consultant use similar skills. It's more the administrative behind the scenes stuff that's different. So the job is the same. So what that means is that if you have a vision of becoming an independent consultant, but you're not quite sure the framework that you need and how to get there and how to kind of get some experience first in a more supported environment versus just striking out on your own, then one of those other 2 environments, either working for a consulting firm or working for a consulting team within an established business-to-business company, can really provide a lot of support and experience. And if you've already got the skills and you're just learning how to put that into practice, it lets you practice without just jumping into being completely independent straight away. The next session that was back in December, and I'm going to put the links to the original recordings in the comments for this show, on the main LinkedIn feed. So if you want to catch up on those, you can. One was in December. In January, I was talking about 3 attributes that, like, kind of personality traits and styles that make for good consulting experiences for people. So not everybody is going to be comfortable being a consultant. You have to really, really, really be able to deal with change and dynamic work environments, and not being in control necessarily of all the moving parts. Because if you're consulting, you're coming into a third-party company where you can make recommendations, but that doesn't mean these people are going to take your advice. So you have to learn how to communicate effectively, how to take people ignoring your suggestions, even when to you as an outsider, it's the most obvious thing in the world. There's going to be times when people are just like, no, don't think so. And they just don't do it. You have to take that with grace and style and document the hell out of it. And later you will probably be able to have your quiet, personal, told you so moment, but you have to be the kind of person who can sort of let that roll off you, and let that kind of change, and the fact that you're always going into different situations, meeting new people, new industries, perhaps new locations, new cities. Every week can be a new city, and a new client base to go to. So some people love that. Some people really, really don't. And that's okay, but it's just something you need to be aware of, that if you plan on getting into consulting, it can be a factor. The third key point for attributes was communication skills, and that's something we're going to talk about a little bit more and expand on for the tips. You have to be comfortable communicating with people at all levels within an organization, because if you're going in as a consultant, you're considered an expert in your particular field. So as such, you're going to be dealing with people who historically might have been your boss, your boss's boss. The executive team within a firm will often be some of the people you deal with. And you may also deal with the people who are actually doing the things. So you have to be able to communicate at all levels in an organization equally, fairly, without being too deferential or being too condescending. It's like trying to find that communication balance where you can win the trust of the people you speak to and get more out of them as a result. In other words, get more information from the executive types and get more engagement and get more, participation from the people who you might be training or working in workshops with, to try to get them on board with you so that you can have a successful experience overall as a project. So writing and presenting and leading workshops are all part of that package. Doesn't mean I don't get nervous sometimes, standing in front of several hundred people to make a presentation. Obviously, I'm going to be nervous because I care. It's for people who gets paralyzed by that level of nerves that it can be a problem. But if you can manage it, and there are plenty of folks out there who can help you to manage those kind of nerves and that kind of stress. But if you're willing to go down that path, that'll be a key skill.
Talking my language now, Melinda. Talking my language. So we're going to move on to what you're doing this week. There's a couple of questions that have come in, or comments.
Great.
Waggy, hi, Waggy. Nice to see you. It is the resilience status which will help. Yes,
absolutely.
You've got to have self-confidence, but not be overconfident. And
be able to kind of change on the fly too, because there's plenty of times where I've showed up for a meeting or to do a presentation, and where at the last minute the client says, oh, well, we've had some crisis within the firm, we can't do this topic today, can you talk about this other thing? And you have to be able to kind of say, oh, yeah, okay, sure, give me 10 minutes and I'll be ready for you.
So Michael's got a question. Dear Melinda, don't you miss sometimes the control, or better say the ability to control the implementation results? So it's a great question, isn't it? Because you are influencing, you do not have the control.
Yes. And sometimes, yes, sometimes it can be one of those things where you can see the potential and you know what the firm or the client could achieve, but if they're being resistant to change, they can't achieve it. And yeah, it is challenging. And it's definitely, there have been times where I've had to kind of play the long game and look for the longer win. And sometimes getting the right people in a room who are resistant and kind of doing demonstrations and lead them through why what you're proposing is the right way forward can lead to the win. But yes, you have to be, I guess, I'm really struggling to come up with the right word, but I guess flexible would be a start to say.
Yeah, it's about versatility, isn't it? Being versatile, but also this, and Danny captures it well, is that understanding yourself and being able to lead yourself first is absolutely essential. So this helps inform what environments and approaches best suit, and also how you're perceived when influencing stakeholders. But this self-awareness and self-leadership piece is massive, because otherwise your fear of, oh my God, they're going to catch me out, or I'm going to get this wrong, or why aren't they listening to me? Something triggers you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I always tell new consultants, because I've trained lots of people over the years in, how to be a consultant and how to, ramp up from being maybe a student or having minimal experience and getting into consulting. And a lot of times the folks are like, oh, but, I'm going into a room with all these people who know so much and they're so senior and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, but in this one topic that you were here to talk about, you know more than them. And that's what you're here to do. So you don't have to know everything about everything. You just need to know what you need to do really well. So
yes, it's about courage and self-belief. Mechi's just added nerves or energy. You can choose how you want to use this energy. Absolutely. And
absolutely.
As they mentioned, you have to wear your oxygen mask before helping others.
Yeah, it's very true.
Michael said, how would you call the people who meet at the moment? Davos 22, do you advise them if you know your work, time, and attention will be wasted? Does that mean anything to you?
Well, Davos is obviously, I think, is that the European Commission that's meeting in Davos now, I think, maybe?
I don't know. Let us know, Michael, what that means, and we'll come back to you. But anyway, tell us what's happening today then. What are you adding today?
Oh, I think there's another question that I'll answer from Michael. It was just it just came in as you were throwing to me.
When did you realize you are a consultant?
I think that's a great question. So it was a good segue to get into today's topic.
Michael.
So thanks for that, Michael. I would say I became a consultant completely by accident. And I say that because I was sent I worked for Panasonic in the restaurant cash register and wireless audio division in my younger days. And they needed somebody to go on site as a senior test engineer and to run a testing program at McDonald's corporate headquarters. I was in Chicago. And so I got bundled off to Chicago, to town, to McDonald's corporate headquarters, and was actually at Hamburger University. It does exist. But was working with them, and I was working with, I happened to be sharing a desk space with another guy who was on the project, and he was a consultant. And, when I came in, was like kind of setting up, he's like, well, what are you here to do? The usual getting to know you chat. And I'm like, oh, I'm here to, set up the testing program and, to get all this stuff done. He's like, oh, so you're the new consultant I was hearing about. I was like, yeah, I guess I am. But I was like in my early 20s. I didn't really think that I knew enough to do that job. So that's why I hadn't really twigged that that's what I was doing. But at that moment, I'm like, yes, I am. And this chap, after our project was finished, he ended up recruiting me into his consulting company. And that kind of made me like officially official. So I wasn't just seconded, I was really a consultant. And I began building up consultants from then. So I think there's a lot more people who could do it or who are doing it who don't realize that that's what they're doing.
Cool. Unless just herding a child, I think, or a dog or something. Christine has helped us, as has Michael, come back telling us what the Davos reference was, a world economic forum. Sorry, I didn't know. I've been too busy partying this weekend.
I didn't know it was on now. I thought it was later in the summer.
So World Economic Forum running now, started yesterday. Elites of the world meet there. Just, oh.
Yeah, I've not been.
I've not been invited yet. Maybe next year.
Yeah, haven't been yet, so we'll get there. Yeah, I didn't realize that it kicked off. I've been quite distracted with my house guests, so that's interesting. It is interesting, and that is something where if you can get into forums and panels, and that is a way that you can have maybe a bit more influence than you do on client side, definitely. Okay. So what about the things that we were going to talk about today? So I wanted to build in some more discussion around some of the tips and the things that are really key to being successful in consulting. But these are things that actually will help you be successful in business in general, and actually outside of business, sometimes in life. So if you're working on an internal project within your work and you're working with people, these skills are still important. They are consulting skills, but they're not solely for consulting, job titles. So one of the tips I would say is listening, but listening to learn, not listening to respond. Now, this is counterintuitive for most people who are really good at consulting, because people who are really good at consulting are helpers. And helpers have this natural instinct to fix things as soon as possible and make people happy. And making people happy is great. And fixing things as soon as possible is great. But you have to be fixing the right things. That's where a lot of people go wrong. And I still, even after doing this for almost 5 years, I have to catch myself and really be mindful that when someone is starting to tell me their problem, I don't mentally immediately just keep nodding, but mentally go away and start trying to fix the problem, which is the first couple of sentences that I've heard, because I haven't heard the problem. I've heard a piece of the problem, maybe some symptoms of the problem. So I have to control my impulse, scale back, and stay present in that moment and listen to what I'm being told. Ask questions about what has just been presented.
I was going to say, I think when I've worked with consultants in the past, the thing that's always impressed me is their ability to keep on digging and to keep asking more and more questions. And again, it makes you as the client think about things from a different angle, doesn't it? Or dig more deeper. And as you say, not jump to that conclusion, oh, this is how we can fix it, but to keep going to get that root of the problem.
Yeah, because I think we've all had the experience, maybe when back in our school days, where the instructor asks a question and you're raising your hand, before they've even got the question fully out of the mouth. You're like, oh, I know the answer. I pick me. I know. Let me do it. And that is every consultant in the world has that instinct, just about. And that's what helps to make them successful. But controlling it is really, really key. And so that also, the asking the questions, the learning more before presenting a solution is essential to get people. The typical client will say at least once in a project, oh, but do we have to change? We've always done it this way. As if that's a justification for carrying on doing it that way. Mm-hmm. Now, there are times when doing things as it's been done before is the most efficient path, but you need to examine it. And so my 100% favorite question, and this is one you should steal, is what are you trying to achieve? because so many people are wrapped up in the process. They're saying, well, I need to go here, 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 here to get there. And it's like, okay, that's what you've always done. It gets you there. But if you just say, is that the most efficient way? They're going to say, well, of course, because they don't know another way. They've not thought of another way. But if you ask them, well, what are you trying to achieve? And they say, oh, well, we need to get here. We need to do this thing. That gives you the objective. And once you know the objective, then you can step back and say, all right, what are the other opportunities that we have? What are the other paths that we could explore to get to that end? Is there one that's more efficient? Because a lot of times with people, when they have, like, say, software tools or physical machines, they learn to do things based on when that software or those tools were given to them, which could have been 8-10 years ago. And so they've probably learned workarounds, which they needed to do then, but are no longer needed, but nobody's ever told them. So it becomes important to examine your start point and your end point and not make assumptions about the middle path.
I think you're absolutely right there. It's that what do you need? What's the end goal that we're trying to get to? Because you're absolutely right. When you start a journey 10 years ago, or whatever, there'll be ways of getting there, and people can be so obsessed on that journey, they forget about what the ultimate goal is. And if you reframe all that, get rid of the journey and think about what the goal is, it might be a completely different journey that is now available.
Yeah, and there's always...
Sorry, can I just adding to that, it's very, as you said at the beginning, this isn't just about consulting, this is about business skills, it's about everything. But if you go into a sales situation and didn't find out what they were trying to achieve, or what they've got at the moment, how well it was working, what would they change about it, what do they love about it? If you don't know all of that, you're effectively fighting against a closed door, aren't you? Which is often where the thank you but no thank you comes in.
Exactly.
So why
the clients will say, you don't know me, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same in sales, exactly. And
I just want to say hello quickly to Gary, who's enjoying the session, or enjoyed it. He's already been and gone. I don't know. He might still be there. Waggy says skills to deal with diversity. Yes, absolutely. A lot of them are very similar. Martin Day, helpful perspectives to help your future work. I think you're just recommending some people. Danny has said, best advice you'd have in school, show your workings. Get the right answer isn't important as bringing others on the journey. Absolutely. Yep. Consulting is influencing, providing counsel and getting buy-ins completely.
And more to Danny's point, one of the things that I was also going to mention later, but it really supports what Danny's saying, is when you are considering all the different paths, have the conversation with people. Don't just go away and, like, in a vacuum, come up with something and say, ta-da! I mean, it's an option, but people feel more engaged in the solution and more willing to accept your solution if they feel they've participated in it. It's a method of change management. So by saying, right, let's talk about these 3 options that I see and give me your perspectives on what you think will work and will not work. And it doesn't have to be a long meeting, and some of the reasons they might give for something not working may have mitigation that you can put in place, but that will make your own argument stronger. So again, asking the questions, listening to the people, but bringing them on the journey with you will really help with buy-in.
So Leon says, yes, coaching and consulting intertwines completely. We've also got James. Hi, James. I've tended to find that the time to move on from questioning is when you uncover an unknown. It moves both parties beyond the preconceptions and assumptions. It is often the missing context that will solve the problem. Yeah, and it's great. There's also something else, which is there anything else unknown? Because it might be one unknown, but there might be more. Gary
There's
says
always more. You will never know everything.
No. Gary's enjoying, and he's still here, which is wonderful.
Yay.
Leon said, agile methodologies. Now a skilled consultant needs to learn for a differentiating factor. Yeah.
Yep, definitely. And even if not every environment can be pure agile, as far as, it's not always software development. It's not always a standalone project where you can just build whatever you think is right. You often have to integrate with other existing products and services. But some of the factors of Agile are really, really valuable to bring into just general work. And I end up calling a lot of the projects that I work on Wagile because they're part waterfall, where you have requirements and you build them and then ta-da at the end, and part Agile where you're doing dynamic development. So it ends up being some sort of weird hybrid. But keeping people informed, showing them progress on a regular basis, getting input regularly, and being willing to be somewhat dynamic. If once a client sees something and they're like, oh, I know that, they may not say, I know that's what I said, but it's not what I want, but that's the net result. So you have to be able to kind of be dynamic, or you'll just end up with a solution that nobody wants. So.
Question for you.
Yep.
From Michael, do you ever use the 5-time why methodology?
Occasionally, but probably not as specifically as it is like out of the box. I don't use the script for it, but I use the method on
intent
on
behind it. Yeah. Melinda, how do you check a client's commitment to buy-in and engagement of other stakeholders?
Oh, good one. Usually when you can test it from the start, because when you first get a contract or a statement of work or contract, whatever it's called in your organization signed, and you go to the client and you say, who would you like to invite to the kickoff meeting? That can be pretty telling. And that can lead to an initial, and if they just say, oh, we don't need one, or just a couple of people that are rather like director level only, that's when it's time to start coaching them at that, and say, well, actually, here's who we're going to need and why, and start to build that awareness around the fact that in order to be successful and in order to have good implementation and adoption for the firm, and in order for the client to get maximum value for their investment, they need to get these people involved from the start.
Okay. And Gary said, so many skills are used in differing contexts, life, work related. Yeah. So he's just confirming what we said earlier about these are not just consulting skills.
Because if you think about, if you're planning a holiday and everybody's got, oh yes, let's go on holiday, we'd all have a different idea of what an ideal holiday is. And until you start asking the people who you're going to go with, what is their ideal holiday and why, and what do they want to achieve while they're there, you can't be sure to pick something that's going to suit the group, if it's a group.
Just coming back to this question from Amechi about the client's commitment to buy-in. I think what you said earlier about if you've got to have a vision of the future, what are they trying to achieve?
Yeah.
But in sales context, we just ask.
Yeah.
Not how committed are you, but if we were to do this, would you want to do it right now? Find out, is there anything that would stop you? It's called trial closing, isn't it? But I just thought I'd chuck that in there. Anyway, back to you.
Yep.
So the other thing I wanted to ask is, and is that I suppose, because we always get this through in life, in business, whatever, it's when people are stuck with we've always done it this way, and they've got this ingrained notion that this is how they have to do it.
Yeah.
How can we give us some tactics? How can we change that?
Yeah, that's there are lots of risk management methodologies, but part of changing it, and I'm not going to use one like Sarah's got the SCARF model, and she discussed that on, was it last week or the week before? I think it was last week. But there are some really good methodologies out there, so I'm not going to reframe those. But things that I try to do which really help is firstly try to understand the people who are saying, but we've always done it this way. They're coming from a place of fear of change. And the question is why? Okay, so then if I can figure out the why, then I can help win them over. And fortunately, I've been able to do this pretty well, because a lot of times it's People are afraid of the basic things. They're afraid this system is going to replace me. I won't have a job. And if I can get confirmation from the firm that this is true, and there is a place for them, it's like, if it's almost always someone who's been in the business a very long time. They have been the expert. They've been the go-to person. And suddenly their position in the whole organization feels undermined to them because they're no longer going to be the expert. They're no longer going to be the go-to person in their mind. And maybe a lot of what they do is going to be replaced by automation. So by learning what they are really good at is one thing, and pitching to that, but also involving them in the process. Don't wait to bring them in last because they're resistant to change. Bring them in first. Mm-hmm. I always drag them in as those particular individuals. I talk to my clients at the very start of the project to say, who do you think is going to be most resistant to this implementation? And they might say, oh, this person, this person, this person. Okay, great. Let's bring them in on the initial workshops. When we're talking about requirements, we're talking about process. There's always a bit of like, oh, are you sure? Like, I'm absolutely sure. Because if I get them in at the beginning and we confirm that their knowledge is valuable, which it is, and their concerns are valid, which they are, then we can make sure those concerns are addressed, that knowledge is incorporated, and that they are feeling a part of the program, and they become involved in the initial requirements. They become involved in the initial user acceptance testing, and they become involved in supporting others, informally during the deployment. So as a go-to person. And what that does is it keeps them in their current headspace. It keeps them in their current role, and it makes them an advocate instead of a detractor.
I just saw this came up, and actually it came up while Vanessa was asking the question about methodologies. So the question's already been answered. Is just look at this, look at what's out there, and use the best, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And do what's right for you. Something else has just popped in. I like this. We often avoid the word no, but it's generally the most honest thing somebody might say to us. We just need to be brave enough to find out why. You're absolutely right. The more no's you get, the better you get at finding the yeses. But for those of us that hide because we're worried about the response we're going to get, you're really missing a trick there. But you've got to have real self-confidence and emotional self-control for that, which is how you started this conversation.
Yeah, and I find just about every project I've been on, there will be somebody in a client's organization where they say, oh, this person's going to be difficult. And it's usually accompanied with the eye roll, like, but those are the people you really want to win. And if you can win them, you've won everybody, because the whole firm is going to be looking to those people because they've been there forever, and everybody knows they're grumpy, and everybody knows they're resistant to change. And if they can become a cheerleader, you have won so much, credibility for your initiative. And also you've made their life better, which is a massive win. If you can take someone's stress levels way down, and they're happy to come to work, and they're happy to talk to you about this project, and they trust that you have their interest at heart, that is winning in my view.
I think it reminds me of Andrew McCaskill, who's also a LinkedIn Live person, but he talks about blowing up the bomb, doesn't he, in an interview situation when you're going for a job. And he, rather than avoid the difficult question or the shady part of your CV that you might think that your interviewers might have a problem with, he talks about getting it on the table straight away, blow up the bomb, get it out in the open, talk about it, resolve it. Then you can move 100%. On and sell. So this is, again, you resistant people, get them in, listen to their fears, and deal with it, handle it, and bring them on the journey. Perfect.
Absolutely. And win their trust. And, it takes patience, it takes time, and it's often best to have one-to-one conversations with these people in private, because they don't want to necessarily speak out in like a group workshop setting. So start there, but then offer to, like, on a break or on lunch or something, hey, you want to go have a coffee, whatnot, and just kind of try to build that relationship and try to learn more about them as individuals, not just as, they're the firm troublemaker. Because they're not. They're just scared and defensive and worried, and that can be helped.
And to end this session, I like that. No responses are bad responses. Yeah, always. If you're not getting a response, you've got a problem.
Yep.
Right, we're time's up, aren't we, Vanessa?
We're almost time's up.
Thank you, everybody.
I make sure says the difficult people often have a reason for being difficult, and you may well be the first person to show an interest and concern about this, enabling the opportunity to get what it is at the heart of it. I think
I've had people tell me that, like, nobody's ever asked me this before. Nobody's ever taken the time to listen to me. And I've had people in tears because they've never been listened to before. They've just been labeled difficult and shoved off in a corner somewhere.
This is so true. Change creates a threat response. It's often nothing to do with the actual change itself, but until we understand it, then you're really scuppered. Minefield, so being observant is key. Brilliant. Nice.
So thank you for joining, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say, Melinda, 3 skills. Do you want to just really quickly name them 1, 2, 3, what they are before we finish?
He was listening. I'll help you out. Listen.
3 skills for being a good consultant are resistance to change, acceptance of change and resilience. That's what I'm trying to say. Resilience and acceptance of change.
Listening
adaptability. The next one would be the communication skills, listening to learn, not to respond. And also the last kind of key skill is
asking
empathy. Really, it's being able to identify those people who are struggling with resistance and change, and being able to work with them on their communication patterns. Like, make a connection with them, bring them along the journey with you. Don't just shove them off into the corner and label them difficult.
There you go. Fabulous. Thank you very much for a brilliant session, Melinda.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week, Monday at 12:30, and I'll be talking then about marketing yourself and why a personal brand, even if you don't like the term, and no one does, why it's important. So thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who's joined us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.